I am conflicted. I don't think I've ever played a video game that was just so tonally confused on what it wants to be, what it tries to do, and what it didn't try to do, and many more. Ace Attorney Dual Destinies is such an odd game. I have played everything this game had to offer, and I still cannot wrap my head around this entire thing. There's a major disconnect between this game and everything that came before. Hell, everything that came after. Ace Attorney Dual Destinies is a game made for the Nintendo 3DS, and in terms of the series being 3D, I think objectively this is an improvement over something like Professor Layton vs. Ace Attorney. Personally though, this game looks very rough. I get it, it was still finding its footing, but man, I think the crossover looked better than this. Despite the fact that the game is now 3D in a manner of speaking, they still treat this like it's 2D. 1 second an animation for the character you're speaking to is playing, and the next second they pop back to either their idle animation or something else entirely. There are animations that look nice enough, but they are coupled with everything else. It just makes the entire game look ugly in a way. Like, I'm not playing a polished product or anything, and these 3D models, dude. Most of the new characters introduced in this game look fine enough in 3D because they originated as 3D characters, but some of the old school folk got the short end of the stick. Phoenix and Apollo look so bad in this game, especially Apollo. He looks disgusting, and oftentimes he looks straight up like a frog. I think the problem here is they tried to replicate the original sprites to a T. It was an issue I had with Phoenix in Versus where he looked hella stiff, and it's still a problem that persists here, but it's not just animation, it's also the art style. Over time, Ace Attorney definitely got way better at this. Spirit of Justice and another massive upgrade compared to Dual Destinies. The game still looks a bit jank. The Grey Ace Attorney games look the best though. I also want to mention the new voices Phoenix and Apollo got, and I'm not a fan of them. To be honest, I like the OG Phoenix voice way more, but because apparently he's a creep, they decided to replace everything with the objection soundbite from this game. Why couldn't you get Eric Vale to do the job? Eric Vale is the voice actor for the English dub of the Ace Attorney anime, and he does a great job to the point that he is straight up Phoenix to me. Apollo also got a massive downgrade. I loved how he sounded in Ace Attorney 4, but here they just ruin him beyond comprehension. In terms of game mechanics, the investigations received noticeable changes. You can go to any location you want instead of navigating from location to location to reach a specific location. I very much appreciate this change. I'm not sure if I like how railroaded the investigations seem. I think I'm generally fine with less things to examine besides the essential stuff, although I don't like it when the game automatically moves me to a different location, but then other times it doesn't do that. Make up your mind. I also like that there is a notes thingy that keeps track of what you have to do, so that you never get lost while investigating. But man, it does make the investigations feel lamer in comparison to the older games. It feels like I'm just going through a checklist. Like, investigations just feels like one massive cutscene that plays out, and of course, because it's 3D now, there's more stuff to investigate by just changing your perspective, which just gives more areas to investigate, which also increases the runtime. Obviously, we have the gimmicks here. Most of them are in the investigation, while another one is courtroom only. The Magatama makes a return in this game, and they completely neuter it. Remember how in the earlier games you had a life bar? Weirdly enough, I actually kinda like that you had to manage your life, because this thing saves in between trials. So let's say you have one piece of life remaining while going to a trial. You're still gonna have that one piece of life. That is very mean, and I like that. No such thing here. There's no life bar, so you can pretty much spam every evidence and every prompt, because why would you think about the answer if you're not getting punished? The mechanic is also heavily underused, mostly because the game juggles 3 different protagonists, but the Magatama is only used 4 times across the entire game, so it makes one wonder why they even bother with this one. The bracelet is removed from the court entirely, which is a big upgrade. Everyone knew perceiving court was dumb and stupid, so I'm glad they made the call to move it in investigations. Although considering the nature of the game, I think this game is infinitely easier, aside from one tell that was kinda bullshit to tell. Hell, sometimes you don't even present evidence after you do the thing, which is kinda crazy. That was like the entire thing about this mechanic. And lastly, we have Mood Matrix. This game mechanic is courtesy of the new character introduced in this game, Athena Sykes. This gimmick is bad. I'm gonna try to summarize my thoughts on Mood Matrix. My main problem with this one is how awful it is. Like, it provides nothing of substance in terms of gameplay aside from asinine stuff. Heck, it seems like this only exists to force a big twist pretty much every time. Another problem I have is that in a world where the dark age of the law, don't worry, I'll get to it, exists, why is any of this being used as evidence? Like, what about the witness's feelings informs me on how the crime I'm solving has been committed? Why doesn't Blackwell, an actual psychologist, interpret Mood Matrix to his own liking? Why is this even allowed in this court of law? The court doesn't care about the feelings of witnesses. This gimmick would be fine if there were jurors, but considering the game takes a massive dookie all over Ace Attorney 4, meaning the juror system established in that game is nowhere to be seen here, is pretty telling. Dude, the law being fucked as it is the reason why they wanted to bring back this system in the first place, but I guess it's rainbows and sunshine now. Hell, this gimmick is very much like how Perceive was in its debut game, where I explain how the court doesn't care about random twitches and whatnot, and also featured the final culprit explaining why the game mechanic should not even be a thing in court. Yep, they literally did the thing again. And on a more personal note, I find the entire philosophy behind it extremely disgusting. Like, yeah, sure, sometimes it's harmless stuff such as the secret you're hiding is that you did this at the scene of the crime, and then there are other times where it's like, okay, so you're not actually a boy but a girl. Like, just the nature of revealing one's personal secrets is something I don't approve at all. Remember how I said the game is totally confused? Yeah, because the game tries to be goofy. The game is either funny intentionally or not, which is kind of weird. They try to have moments of seriousness sometimes, and it doesn't work because the animation is too much, or the writing is bad and doesn't really acknowledge the depravity of the situation. The Dark Age of the Law is the most tone-deaf main theme they could have ever come up with. The entire reason why this even exists is because Phoenix forged evidence and Blackwell murdered someone. Oh no, Phoenix forged evidence? Womp womp. Blackwell murdered someone? As if we didn't have dozens of prosecutors that were found to have murdered someone many times in the series. What the fuck is this bullshit? So because of those things, everyone hates the law. Lawyers forge evidence and false charges have risen at a rampant rate. Wish this was shown with the cases they have at hand instead of just talking about the Dark Age of the laws. These are dark times, where law has been reduced to rubble, will forever haunt me in my dreams because it is such a funny ass line. Like, bro, it's not that deep, trust me. And it's also just, you're just saying that, oh, everything was fine before this one? Before this game? Seriously? Like, what is this bullshit, bro? Well, with 5 cases at hand, let's see if at least the cases themselves are good. Okay, so before I get started, I want to talk about something that has happened to me when I first played this game, and it also happened when I replayed this game for the video. Case 1 is always so fucked for me. Either the anime cutscenes are a bit behind the audio, or ahead from what I noticed, and during gameplay, the game itself plays fine, but the audio straight up breaks. I have never seen a game have laggy audio, but the game itself plays fine. Anyways, the premise of the case is that there was a bombing incident. Quite the bombastic introduction to the game. It blew my mind with how not good this case actually is. This case suffers from very bad logic from this guy gasping pain, but also the contradictions themselves get very bad. Like, there are a lot of bad answers here. The funniest one is probably the one during, I think, the second day, where it was just not possible for Apollo to look around the witness stand to search for something because there was rubble around it. Man, these Ace Attorney characters can't do shit. Like, I'm sure someone can just climb over the rubble and stand on top of it. In fact, just a few seconds later, they show this photo that definitely proves it was indeed possible for Apollo to search around with the stand. There was literally nothing stopping him from doing so. So again, I have to ask, what the fuck was the point of this contradiction? Also, I find it so weird how you introduce this new character to the player in the form of Athena Sykes, and then you play as her for 5 minutes, and then Phoenix shows up because Athena is too traumatized or something, even though she literally led the trial before this and was completely fine until like right near the end. Like, hello? Oh yeah, the timeline of this game's story is a mess. Case 1 here takes place, I guess, in between the events of Case 4 for trial and investigation. The case itself is kind of a mess, but at least Ted Tonate was there to make things better. I don't know, this is the funniest fucking culprit they ever came up with. He's so unironically funny in so many ways. Like, just look at this guy and tell me if you can take him seriously. And Juniper Woods is a fun enough character. Her friendship with Athena seems believable enough, and since this is a character that shows up later in the game, there's plenty of time for them to elaborate on their friendship. Anyways, the case is very bad, not a great introduction, but surely gets better from here on out, right? The Monstrous Turnabout is a case that focuses a lot on yokais. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad concept, but I think the execution is not great. Partly because the anime intro cutscene already reveals who the culprit is, and the fact that this is a crime committed by a human being. Now, sure, revealing the culprit is something mostly reserved for the first cases, because it's the first cases. Let's be fair here. There's only one exception to this rule, and that is case 2 of the first game where they revealed Red White killed Mia. Still, not every first case actually reveals who did it. The first case of Investigations 2 is a good example of this, where they straight up don't tell you who did it, because yeah, the entire mystery is kinda ruined. I get it, Ace Attorney doesn't have the subtle list of culprits, so when you see the actual culprit, then it's pretty obvious who did it. But it's not about just that, it's also about execution. You see, the player may know that Red White is the killer, but you don't even meet him until the second day, where it's made pretty clear how hateable and despicable of a man he is. So here we have Florent Labelle showing up in the first day of investigation to pretty much mock us. This guy kind of has all the qualifications that someone like Red White has to be a hateable character, and that in turn encouraged the player to get him. It's just the fact that we met him too early in the case. Since we know he's the killer and that that he is also a massive jerk, it makes one wonder why they even designed this case like this. Because the entire first day is spent on doing random bullshit. It feels like the game is playing catch up to get back on the thing the player wants to see happen when it put itself in that situation in the first place. Like, okay, never mind the fact that they ruined the mystery by revealing who the culprit is. They don't even try to do anything interesting to keep the mystery solving aspect at least fun enough. Still a poorly written one with bad logic, bad contradiction at times. I tried giving it a chance, and the second I saw the game making me give a bad answer, I mentally check out. Someone like Florent Labelle doesn't need a lot of depth, which is fine. It's the way they use him that makes this case worse. And it doesn't stop there, because this case has some annoying motherfuckers here. Phineas Village is just this guy whose running gag is stealing shit from Apollo and Athena, and then gets called out for it and apologizes even though it's clear he's not truthful. That's his entire character. I really don't like this guy. He's annoying and he's dragging some scenes out by doing his own funny bit. He's generally obnoxious. Then we have Jinxie Tenma, Trucy's best friend and the defendant's daughter. Oh yeah, Trucy is in this game and she shows us this location, her best friend, so you would think she would be more involved, right? Nope, instead she fucks off because she's the most irrelevant character in this entire game. I already thought Trucy was not that involved in her debut game, despite her importance in the narrative, but here she basically gets deleted. Jinxie Tenma is also annoying, not as annoying as his village, but still. Her entire gimmick is slapping people with warding demon charms or whatever, and it certainly doesn't get old real quick. It's also a character that doesn't add a whole lot to the case. In fact, she feels like a character to be used for Athena's new gimmick. Athena's introduction to Apollo here is pretty funny. She just throws a police officer onto Apollo with no sweat, like damn girl, okay. There is one thing about the case that I'll never forget, and it's the fact that during the second investigation day, we discover some hand cream that belongs to the culprit. I'm just like, seriously? That's how they wanted to identify him? With the fucking hand cream? Oh my god, dude. Like, imagine just committing murder just a second ago. There we go. I just murdered someone, feeling good about myself, checks the pockets. Oh no! Where did my hand cream go? Not my hand cream that I always carry around in my pockets, even while committing murder. Oh, this is good. This is so good, man. The case expands on the cast of characters in the form of Bobby Fulbright and Simon Blackwell. Fulbright is an odd fella, but he's not that bad. I like him well enough. In Justice with Trust. Simon, on the other hand, this dude carries the entire game for me. He's like the most normal guy here, which is very much appreciated, especially when everyone else acts like a theater kid. You know, minus me ignoring the fact that he has a superhuman ability in the form of, he has this power of suggestion thing going on because he's an actual psychologist in comparison to Athena. And I'm just like, what the fuck does this add to him? It doesn't really change the case at all. It doesn't change the fact how trials operate. In fact, it's just extending scenes because of you doing random bullshit to make the character quirky. You're like, what's up with that? But even with his swagger, it wasn't enough to salvage case 2 for me. The case still almost put me to sleep. There is one more thing this game introduces, revisualization. It's not anything spectacular, except for the fact that it kinda just ruins the mystery aspect of these games and also just undermines any kind of suspense that they try to do here because of one singular problem. Revisualization starting with case 2 is always featured near the end of the case, so if you haven't seen this mechanic at all in the case you're playing, then there is no subtlety. Any amount of suspense that could have came from seeing these characters backed into a corner and then finally coming on top is completely ruined because of this. I remember how in the earlier games the reason why some of the moments on those cases were pretty gripping, all things considered, is because of the fact that you didn't know if you were going to answer the question how you managed to prove everything. Seeing your character backed into a corner intensifies that feeling of sorting through your evidence and making sure the piece of evidence that's going to save your ass is right there. No such thing here. It's like the writers just hate writing mysteries and intrigue. As for the mechanic itself, it's a basic as multiple choice question that recaps the entire case for you and gives you a random ass answer at the end. That's it. There's nothing to talk about with this thing. How to make a case that actively pisses me off in terms of mystery writing and how to piss off my inner Apollo Justice fan that resides inside of my soul. Look no further than Turnabout Academy. Holy mother of bad cases, this might be the worst one yet. I sure do love the fact that in the first day of investigation and trial, we do nothing to advance the murder plot. Yes, let's talk about the relationship between these three dumb fucks. That ought to do it. Let's fucking expose this one person of the fact that she's not a he. Robin Newman is genuinely obnoxious. If she wasn't obnoxious when she was pretending to be a man, then she certainly becomes even more so when she decides to act like a very stereotypical girl. And how does us proving that Robin is secretly a girl help us uncover the truth? I don't know, don't ask me. Hugh O'Connor. I want him dead. The most annoying character ever made. God help me when he keeps spouting bullshit because he's protecting Juniper Woods. Like, bro, nobody cares about y'all. You are lame, stupid, and then some. This case generally ignores its mystery in favor for these clowns. The case wanted you to give a fuck about these high schoolers, and it failed spectacularly. Although it is because of these clowns we got the finest Ace Attorney moment.
Hey, Hugh!
And to think, I should have known better than to doubt my best friends.
Aristotle Means is a joke of a character. I don't even want to look at this guy. This is the same case where the darkest of the cows is being accentuated alongside the ends justifying the means. His catchphrase, Yamazaki when he asked to come up with a gimmick to help for the culprit of this case. Huh, you jest, but you see, back then in 2011, Verity Cavell had a line of dialogue that mentioned the phrase, the end justifies the means. So you see, I was cooking ever since 2011. It is generally repulsive to see just how unsubtle the writing for this case is. It is also infuriating how black and white the entire thing it is. Like, Aristotle Means represents the ends justifying the means, aka the bad guys, and Constance Court is like the good guys. That's how it generally feels like. And then we have these stupid kids that also repeat the phrase, even though they don't even know what that means. It's so funny, Athena denounces this philosophy, where she pretty much does the same thing she denounces it in this case. Like, whenever she's about to lose or doesn't have a lead, then she whips up Widget to do the mood matrix. Hypocrite much? The first day is a complete waste of time. The case starts being solved during the second day, and it's still not good. Just so many bad answers I can cry. Like, oh my god, Athena, she is so dumb. She doesn't want to do the arguments that need to be addressed like at all. Like, genuinely, what the fuck is she even doing besides eating shit? Someone is right, what the fuck is this? This is not high school drama. We're trying to solve a murder here. The fact they used the voice recorder and the tape is a bit too much for me. They don't even know shit about this piece of evidence, and they feel super confident about the many ways to interpret this. Stupid ass Hugh O'Connor, Hugh O'Connor, Hugh O'Connor. Wait a minute. Juniper Woods in this case is just air in a bottle. We already know she's not guilty because of case 1, and her character in this case is just kinda whatever. And the origin story of how Junie ended up having a crush over Apollo is also He couldn't just stare at her chest and then she's high over heels for him. So this is how you get a girlfriend nowadays, huh? Let me try. It seems like the instructions were unclear. I am now in jail for sexual harassment. I guess I should continue to review from inside this place. Maybe they'll let me go if I finish this review. Also, as the resident Ace Attorney 4 enjoyer, what a sick joke to reference the Lamar outfit but ignore the game itself and what it tried to do. I also found it extremely weird that Phoenix barely got his attorney badge and everyone was like, oh my god, the legendary Phoenix Wright is back in the fucking building, guys! Guys, he was a hobo bomb for like 7 years because he allegedly forged evidence. Are we going to address that? What the fuck is this character revisionism? I generally hate how they treat Phoenix in this game, both as a character and the people gravitating around him. This guy shouldn't be as lauded as he is in this game, but this game also just makes Phoenix so trigger happy to everything. Friendly reminder, this guy played poker for 7 years. You're telling me he lost his poker face in the second he got that badge? Also, Cliver Kevin is in this game for whatever reason to grace us with his ugliness and his horrendous objection soundbite.
Objection!
I'm not saying there isn't things to like in this case. I thought Miriam Scuttlebutt was fine. She kinda just exists, but I like her gimmick. It's creative. I also like the one moment in the first day of investigation where we reenacted the mock trial. It helps give the player a better understanding how similar the mock trial and the actual murder is, and it's a fun enough way to showcase this aspect of the crime. Athena is also probably at her best in terms of character interactions with Apollo, but at this point the game is starting to heavily lose me. Half of my playthrough is the game running on autoplay. Like, genuinely, this case has so many pacing issues. It's just insane to me. Like, at the end of the case, there's just this moment where Athena is like having a moment and then everyone's like, oh, go Athena, I believe in you, Athena. It's like, bro, come on, bro, what are we doing? Like, what is this fucking baby ass shit, bro? Like, genuinely, oh my god. To be honest, at this point the game gets smidge better. Like, the first trial is not that bad, even though it's a little ridiculous how this has progressed. Like, Apollo lost the trial like 4 times already. But no worries, we got the liftoff scene. That is so awesome. So peak, genuine comedy. Anyways, there isn't much for me to say in this case, since most of it is just the investigation segment. And it's fine. It introduces a lot of things and kind of sets off Case 5. I will say the Space Center is a cool little place. I like it. The idea of introducing stuff related to space and stuff like that. Space is freaking cool, and the way they executed the concepts here isn't that bad. And then the final trial day in this case hits, and so far so good until the game decided to desperately want you to play Case 5. So they decided to rush this entire thing by having Phoenix make up a bunch of shit and say words and then have everyone agree with him. We need to set up the twist that Athena might be guilty and blah 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 blah. Also, I genuinely hate Solomon Starbuck. Him and his sighing animation just makes me die inside every single time I see it. Like, bro, please, just stop doing that. You're adding unnecessary downtime for no reason. I barely wrote anything about this case, so I wanted to take the time to talk about the fact that this series has a weird fixation on writing many plot twists. It tries to shock you for the sake of anything. It's a weird outlook to have on this series, but it has been proven right every single time. I genuinely have no idea why they are so hell-bent on writing plot twists for the sake of plot twists. Like, yeah, I don't mind plot twists. In fact, it could elevate the experience. But like, these later games just have so many plot twists for like so much nothing burger. It's just insane to me. Especially Yamazaki. I feel like Yamazaki gets very egregious with all the twists in these mysteries. It's like he tries to one-up himself every single time. Like, bro, just calm down. I generally don't like it when the cases seem to be designed around a twist. I feel like the cases should be designed around the mystery you came up with. Otherwise, you get shit like Turnabout Reminisce. Is this the second shortest finale case ever made? It's just an investigation segment and a trial segment. Like, the investigations was whatever. It is quite sudden how quick the entire situation with the hostages was set. Like, goddamn, Aura Blackwell locked the fuck in. Let's talk about the many characters present in these cases. Yuri Cosmos is the director of the Space Center. He is quite the character, although my one problem with him is how they try to have a moment where he is very serious and whatnot, and yet his goofy animations and the way he's written, just like many Dual Destinies characters, don't really help him at all. It's so strange. Just seeing this guy talk about something that should be serious, and then the next second he spins around in his ride. Aura Blackwell is the sister of Simon Blackwell, a person that is connected to all of this because she works at the Space Center. She set up the hostage situation because she wanted to save Simon Blackwell, who was about to get executed tomorrow. I like her character enough. I think she does enough in the narrative to the point where I notice the impact. Here is something very funny for all of you to mull over. So Aura allows Phoenix to examine the scene and also brings Edra into this, and based on their conversation, it seems like once again we hit Pitch Central. Like, so Phoenix talking to someone on his phone during the intro cutscene was actually a convo with Miles. These two were planning on saving Simon from being wrongfully executed, but here's the thing, how exactly were these idiots supposed to do that? If Aura didn't force their hand into this mess she caused, then tomorrow Simon would be straight up executed. So I ask again, what the fuck was their plan of action? This story fucking sucks, bro. The first half of the trial I thought was fine enough. Like, I didn't think any one of the answers they made me give were that bad, methinks. It was actually fairly enjoyable to a degree, although I don't like Miles in this case. Number 1, he feels shoehorned in. He's only here to give people fan service with Phoenix, as if fan service is what this series desperately needs. Number 2, he doesn't really do much. He just shit talks about Athena and that's it. His role in this game is quite limited, yet it was just enough for many people to say he was straight up ruined. At least I remember that take popping in and out quite frequently. I don't think he was ruined, but he does feel like a meaningless inclusion. Plus, I'm kinda sick of him already. I played your games, dumbass. I don't need to see you ever again. Get out! However, the second half of the trial takes a complete nosedive in terms of quality. I guess I need to mention the elephant in the room. Yep, this is Apollo Justice in his sad, edgy boy arc where he suspects Athena of being the killer of his best friend and pal, Clay Terran, the victim of last case. Apollo made up a friend to make us feel bad for him. I generally don't know what the fuck were they thinking when they were writing this. At no point did they realize that having Apollo mention his friend like twice before case 4 is not a good way to convey the grief Apollo must be feeling right now. And the fact that he comes off as a massive jerk who doesn't even have the willpower of his conviction, because soon afterwards he's like, I want to believe in Athena, but I just can't. Like, bro, fuck off. His entire testimony is him teasing his boss about how he can't really dismantle his arguments, even though the only way to win is by pressing every single statement in his testimony. God fucking damn it, why is this shit designed like this? And the worst part about this is after Phoenix says more words, suddenly Apollo feels bad for acting like a jackass, and now he's fine. The emotional aspect of this case is fucking gone just like that. Jesus Christ, this game is fucking legendary for all the wrong reasons. Anyways, we got the bombfuck Phantom here to finally end the dark age of the cunts, and listen man, this guy has to be the goofiest culprit they ever came up with. Like, generally, what the fuck do you want me to say about him? He's the catalyst of the dark age of the twats. Anyways, he says the thing I was expecting like a billion years ago, that being questioning the validity of these so-called therapy sessions, and then he kinda just drops all pretense. Suddenly, this figure who feels no emotion suddenly feels fear because there's an earring made out of the moon rock he tried to destroy. Even though he's a spy that can literally just snatch that earring out of Athena's head, I doubt it should pose him much problem, but of course, with the power of friendship and generic anime sitcom writing, we defeat the Phantom and everyone is happy and has been saved. Even Trucy was held hostage among other people at the Space Center, and Felix totally had a very appropriate reaction to all of these things. Also, Pearl Faye. And that's it. Everyone is happy. Everyone finally believes in the law again. We are so back. What do you mean there's a 6th case? What do you mean they made a DLC case for this game? I won't be honest, I was struck by boredom while I was playing this case. It was genuinely a mind-numbing experience. The case itself was fine, at least from what I could gather. There were moments where Phoenix was making up stuff like usual, but I don't know, I don't care. I kinda like the culprit, he was a nice change of pace. I don't like that they forced a testimony with the Orca. It just feels like they wanted to do the para-testimony from case 4 of game 1. And I already made that joke during the crossover, I'm not gonna do it again. Once again, that was just a lame attempt at fan service. Sasha is an interesting enough character, she's fun, and the amount of effort she goes to ensure that her best friend Orla doesn't get put down, so much so she ends up in jail instead. I like the one aspect of her character where she suffers from a heart disease, mirroring a similar incident that happened at this aquarium where another animal trainer died due to a heart attack. One incident ended in tragedy and the other ended on a good note. Also, Pearl Faye, what the fuck is she even doing in this game? So get this, they suddenly introduced the fact that the spiritual power inside the Makatama can run out actually, and Pearl is conveniently there to replenish it. What the fuck is the point of this? It doesn't contradict anything as far as I'm concerned, but it's just a bizarre addition to have that you might as well not bother. I mean, spiritual power running out just feels wrong. Aside from that, she doesn't do anything. At least in case 5, she ruined the mystery behind the black psyche locks by having an explanation for them. I would have rather not have known about this, but oh well, at least she does that. The fuck is she even doing here? And she's the exact character she was since she was 9. Like nothing about her changed. She just grew taller and that's it. So boring. It's not a bad case, but it's not engaging. I have seen people say this case is better than Big Top, but I disagree. Big Top was way more entertaining to bear witness to than this case. It was also shorter, not by much, but still shorter, and it was a fairly active case here. I think the problem with Ace Attorney that is starting to suffer now is that the games are getting wordy, so you just have a lot of moments where the characters suck for a billion years until I can get a move on. I genuinely don't know why they're doing this. Write less dialogue, it can't be that hard. And that's it. Ace Attorney Dual Destinies is a bad game. There's no question about that. It literally kinda just fucking kneecapped this series in a way. But there were things about this game that I did like. For one, I enjoyed Athena's relationship with Simon and Apollo to a certain extent. She did feel like a wildcard of sorts type of character. That doesn't mean she serviced this game well. Her gimmick is straight up not good. She fucking killed what little Trucy had since her debut game, so now Trucy just sits around and does fuck all the entire game. The entire plot of the game is nonsense, the cases are nonsense, the mystery writing and especially the character writing is nonsense. I don't like the treatment Phoenix got with this game, both the character himself and the things happening around him. Clay Theron is just a piece of paper character just like his best friend Apollo Justice. Actually devastated as his gimmick is now him saying I'm fine when that wasn't it to begin with. He only said the word fine a bunch of times at the start of case 1 and that's it. His gimmick is his Court of Steel and his development that was set up in his debut game is straight up gone here. This game is such a mess and trust me it doesn't get better after this. I'm kinda curious to see how well it has the greatest attorney adventures aged. In a matter of speaking. Until then, next up on Choppy Blog is the final Professor Layton game, Layton's Mystery Journey. I don't know what to expect, so I'll see you next time with my thoughts on that game. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Wait, I'm still stuck in jail? Well, this is inconvenient. How do I get out of here? I know, I'll just use this bomb that I willed into existence like 2 seconds ago.